wrapping up today's market color analysis with the analysis on the yen basket and some other yen-related currencies. After which, we're going to be taking commentaries and then we'll be taking question and answers before we wrap up the London session of the market color. My name is CJ and I'm going to be starting this analysis with you. But just before we start, we want you to share the link to this market color with as many people as possible, your friends, your family, fellow traders, on other trading platforms like Telegram, WhatsApp, Instagram, wherever you have it, wherever you know there is a community of traders who are willing to learn and who are eager to make profit from the market, you can share this link to them. The link is going to be dropped in the chat box very soon. When you share the link with them, they will be able to participate in today's market color and make profit also as well as you do. All right, so the link is right there in the chat box. I'm going to give you a few seconds to share the link with others. Okay, so let's go straight into the chart. Last week we had NFP release, and it was quite interesting to see how NFP strengthened the dollar back to its original bullish direction that we've always been anticipating. So we'll be seeing our post-NFP analysis. We had that on Friday last week, and we were able to show you how clearly we expected the NFP to strengthen the dollar, and the effects came out just as Cynthia was able to give us a very clear and clean analysis on that, and we're able to take advantage of it from our own end. We hope every other person is able to was able to take advantage of it. All right, for us here at Value Flow Trading Floor, we're very bullish on the dollar based on the release of the previous fundamentals, the NFP, the ADP, and other sentiments around the growth of the US economy. And we are quite certain that the NFP was going to come out positive, and we traded in that direction. For all our traders here on the floor, we were in the direction of a bullish dollar, and it came out very positive for us from our trades on AUD USD, NZD USD, our trades on GBP USD especially, were all in the positive after the release of the NFP. All right, for this week, we're expecting parliamentary elections in Europe. So it started yesterday and it may go into today. We don't know the conclusion of that yet. And then we're also expecting bank holidays in China and in Australia. That is not usually the business of those who trade in London and New York session, especially for those around the Nigerian time, which is GMT +1. All right, so still on this week, we're expecting GDP from UK and also the climate change from UK. And then the big guns for this week is on Wednesday, the 12th of June. Wednesday, the 12th of June. We're expecting core CPI, we're expecting CPI month on month, we're expecting CPI year on year for the US. And coincidentally, we're also expecting the FOMC release of the federal funds rate for the US. So Wednesday is going to be a very big and serious fundamental day for the US trading session. One of the things that I like to do on this period is just to sit out and observe instead of getting my hands burnt, because I would not want to gamble my way through this kind of news releases. One thing that I have observed over time is, especially for CPI, is that it doesn't give a clear direction on the dollar immediately. It requires some time, about a day or two, to digest and then give a direction on the dollar, because the CPI measures inflation. So it's not going to just give you one straight direction compared to non-farm payroll and Fed funds rate, which is the interest rate of the US. Those ones, they are clear cut. The Fed funds rate has been around 5.5% over the last few months, and we're expecting it to continue so for the remaining part of the first half of this year. So it gives very clear direction, unlike CPI. So I'm guessing that Wednesday is going to be very bloody for intraday traders and retail traders across the globe who trade the US related pairs. Now, on moving on from Wednesday, on Thursday, we're expecting the PPI, all right, which is the Producers Price Index, which is also another measure of inflation. We're also expecting unemployment claims, which is a weekly news release from the US. And then on Friday, another very interesting news, we're going to be expecting the policy rate or the monetary interest rate for Japan to come out on Friday. It usually comes out at midnight Nigerian time. So we'll be expecting that to be released so that we'll know if the Japanese government are going to continue being hawkish or dovish as regards to their interest rate. That is going to give us a clear direction as to where the Japanese yen is going to be trading going into the remaining part of the first half of this year. So it's quite a heavy loaded fundamental week. So I bet you guys it's going to be very, very interesting. I want you all to observe how all these policies and all this news release is going to affect the various currencies that you are trading so that subsequently you know how to take advantage of them. All right. Now, moving straight into one of the ways we get sentiment for the week. During the beginning of the week, we like to look at FinViz and we look at it on the weekly time frame so that we can have a very broad perspective of what the market is doing for most of our preferred currencies. Now, you can see that for the weekly, looking at what has happened in the last 7 days or in the last 5 trading days, Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar has been leading the race. It has been showing us some signs that there might be risk on in the market for the last 1 week, and going into this week, seeing that there is so much fundamentals that's going to be released on safe haven currencies, which are JPY and the US dollar. We're expecting a lot of fundamental news release. So it may be safe to say that this week we may just see risk moving towards the commodity currencies rather than safe haven play. All right. So we'll be watching how that unfolds because we're going to be having a very quiet commodity play this week. So we may be seeing risk on. And if that should happen, we're going to be seeing more bullishness towards Australian dollar against US dollar and also New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. And then we might also be seeing bearishness, which is quite the opposite for the USD card. All right. So if that plays out clearly, then you know the direction to be trading to. Okay. Now back to technicals. Let's start off with the US dollar index. Looking at the US dollar index is quite interesting. Since the previous weeks, about 3-4 weeks now, I've been saying that the US dollar is bullish. Some people have been saying quite the opposite. We've seen your comments, we've seen your analysis, but we've been very bullish on the US dollar since the beginning of last month. And you can see how the news release that came out on Friday made that very clear. I would like to see this using the TVC broker. So we're going to change this right away. Okay. So we've been seeing how US dollar had been weakening, but many people have been thinking it's a bearishness on the US dollar, but it's just a retracement on the daily time frame, which we're going to be seeing very shortly. So the daily time frame had already expanded, and we saw some retracement on the US dollar. And then afterwards, we knew that retracement, because it didn't break a major structure on the daily time frame, we know that retracement is only for a brief period of time, and after which we saw the resumption to the upside. So the US dollar has resumed its monthly and weekly bullishness, and we expect that to continue for the remaining part of H1. H1 means the first half of this year. Okay, so looking at it back to the daily time frame. So this is the daily time frame. I was expecting the US dollar to close right below this low for me to give to change my bias for the sell. To change my bias from the buy to the sell, you can see how that this is the last swing. Structurally, this is the last swing low, and this is the last swing high. So I was expecting US dollar to break this low. Remember, in a couple of days ago, I said that if US dollar doesn't break this low, then we're going to have a resumption of the bullish trend and not a bearish continuation. You can see how US dollar has been shying away from this low because there is an order block right here, and then we're seeing how US dollar reacted off the order block on the first instance, reacted off it on the second instance, and on the third instance, it gave us the clear resumption of the buy trend. So you can see clearly that the US dollar is bullish. You can see this is the last swing high, swing low, swing high, back to this swing low. Now we're expecting price to close above this high for it to initiate a bullish trend all the way to the upside. So that is what we have on the US dollar for the daily time frame. Now let's look over to the 4-hourly time frame so that we can see what we're expecting intraday. Seeing that the last 4-hour candle has closed quite above this high, we might see a very brief retracement, Take note of the word very brief, retracement. So this retracement, we may not see it as deep as we expect all the way into this level. For today into the first half of this week, that is from today into Tuesday, we might see this retracement just give us somewhere around 105 region of the USD dollar index before the fundamental release starts pouring out. We might see that retracement all the way to this level. So you can mark 105.4 region. This is where I'm expecting US dollar to retrace into before the fundamentals. I can't tell you categorically what's going to happen around those periods because we've not started hearing, we've not started seeing analysis on the fundamentals yet. We've not started seeing charters on the fundamentals. We've not started seeing news release that will come out before the fundamental news. So we'll be expecting that to come out late Tuesday evening so that we can now have a clear-cut analysis as to where those fundamentals are going to be leading the US dollar to. But before then, for this today into tomorrow, I'm expecting a short dollar, which is saying I'm expecting a sell-off of the dollar index are up to 105.000 level. When that happens, then we'll be expecting a resumption of the buy. We're going to also analyze that going into Wednesday. Okay, but for today, this is what I'm expecting. If you also look at the 1 hour time frame, we're seeing a huge volume imbalance around here. So I'm expecting the dollar index to trade into this level at least today into tomorrow, and then we'll now reanalyze to see where the dollar index is going to for the remaining part of the week. So this is my analysis on the dollar index. Overall, we're bullish. Intraday, we might see some bearishness, which is a form of a retracement before we now continue the overall bullishness of the dollar index. I hope this is clear to everyone who is here on this live call. Now let's go over to Euro USD. One of the most traded dollar-related pairs is Euro USD, and one of the reasons why we like to analyze it is because of the interest it has on many other traders, and we would want to take advantage of it as well, because of the liquidity that it provides. Now let's look at Euro USD from the daily time frame. So for Euro USD, in previous weeks, I've been saying it clearly and clearly that Euro USD is bearish. All that we've been seeing that has been trading to the upside has always been a bullish retracement, which is similar to what is happening on the dollar index. Now looking at Euro USD, we're seeing a clear break of structure somewhere around here. Sorry, let me just change this broker quickly. Okay. Now, looking at Euro USD, we've been seeing that. Okay, perfect. Now, looking at Euro USD, we've been saying that this has been the swing, the original swing from this swing high, which is right here, all the way to this swing low. Last week during the FX bootcamp class, I was telling the FX bootcamp student that Euro USD is clearly bearish, regardless of all these buys. Even though we joined to take advantage of these buys, we were sure that Euro USD is very bearish, and we're willing to take part of that bearishness when it starts to unfold. Now, looking at it structurally, we might be waiting to see Euro USD close right below here. Okay, so I want to see a candle close right below here, seeing that Euro USD has gone ahead to grab all this liquidity. Okay. So Euro USD has gone ahead to grab all this liquidity and then finally traded into this left shoulder. Okay, so when we switch to the 4 hour time frame, you don't see that left shoulder clearly. Okay, so after trading to this left shoulder, we saw the first reaction and then a second reaction for Euro USD to the downside. Now we're expecting Euro USD to continue trading to the downside. So we're expecting to see Euro USD continue trading to the downside after a close below this low right here. Let's look at what we have for the intraday. So on the intraday, we're seeing that Euro USD did just what we expected on the 4 hour time frame, where we're expecting it to trade from the box pattern, which we saw on the daily time frame. And now we're seeing that it has reacted just as we expected. Now we are looking forward to seeing Euro USD give us some smooth retracement before it continues selling. Okay, and that retracement is just like we have on the dollar index, where we're expecting a sell-off On Euro USD, we're expecting a very brief buy before the sell continuation. We're expecting that buy. It's one of the places we're expecting the buy to trade into is 1.07891, 1.07819. That is one of the levels we're expecting Euro USD to trade into. So we're expecting that buy all the way somewhere around here. This is our first juncture for the buy. The second juncture for the buy would be this level right here. There's a breaker block right here, which is another place that interests me in this Euro USD trade. I would be expecting, if Euro USD is not going to buy all the way to, if Euro USD breaks above this high, next place I'm expecting it to buy to is here. So this is what I'm expecting. First is a trade of Euro USD into this place and downwards. Second is this level. And downwards. So these are the two places I'm expecting Euro USD to sell to. And when I'm selling, I'm willing to sell all the way downwards, knowing that this is a monthly time frame structure resumption. I'm willing to sell it quite long, all the way to this downside, if possible, to take out this low at 1.06038. Okay, but for now, I'm expecting a buy today into tomorrow of Euro USD first into this level 1.07869, and then the second level is this breaker block right here, 1.0828 region. These are the two places I'm expecting Euro USD to trade to. So for today, I'm willing to buy Euro USD into these levels and then sell it off when it gets to these respective points of interest. Now let's move over to GBP USD. Okay, so for GBP USD, I'm expecting very similar thing, but let's start off from the daily time frame. Now for GBP USD, generally the sentiment of GBP on the last 2 weeks has been a stronger GBP as against the euro. So we've had a stronger GBP against the euro. So GBP has not fallen as flat as the euro has. So for this week, we're also expecting a GBP sell, but not as much as the euro sell. So what this implies to us is that we may see GBP buy going into the remaining part of this week. That is first half of this week, rather. We may see a buy of GBP before it sells. And that buy of GBP is going to be way deep compared to the one we're having on Euro USD. Now, on the daily time frame of GBP USD, we've not seen that break of structure that we've seen on Euro USD. That may take a while, but as we continue and proceed into the remaining part of this week, we may see that break of structure clearly. And that level is 1.26819. We want to see price break this 1.26819 region on GBP USD for us to start selling fully. All right, so on the daily time frame, GBP USD still looks bullish, but then we know that sentiment has started changing towards a stronger dollar. So we might see a very clear bearish GBP USD. So let's go to the 4-hour time frame to see what we have there. So on the 4-hour time frame, we're still expecting GBP to break this level. Very clear, just like we have on the daily time frame. However, before it does so, we might see a deep retracement of GBP USD into this level right here. I'll show you clearly on the 1-hour time frame. Okay, so this is one of the levels I'm expecting GBP USD to retrace into going into this week. Okay, so that is the level, and on the 1-hour time frame, you can see why this is a very clear and obvious breaker block right here for GBP USD. So if we see GBP USD buying, this is one of the targets of the buy, this breaker block right here on the 1-hour time frame. So I'm expecting a buy of GBP USD into this level before a sell off. Now this is the path. Let me draw it clearly. So this is the path I'm expecting GBP USD to travel. A buy into this level and then a sell off immediately afterwards. Okay, so as you can see, GBP USD is already buying. And presently, I have a bullish sentiment and bias on GBP USD. I'm buying GBP USD all the way to this level and then a sell off. Another place where I expect GBP USD may buy into is to give us a clear box pattern right here. Okay, so this is another place I expect GBP USD may buy. I suspect GBP USD may buy into. So if that breaker block doesn't hold price, then we might see it trade into. Sorry. So if this breakout block doesn't hold GBP USD, we might see trade into this left shoulder and then continue selling to the downside. So these are the two places I expect GBP USD to buy into. But first, my first take profit is around this level, 1.27600. That is my take profit on this GBP USD long. Once it gets to 1.27600, I'll be willing to short, but then I will not take a short immediately. I would want to see how the fundamentals unfold. Then I'll be willing to now short GBP USD going on after the fundamental news releases. Okay. So this is my bias on GBP USD, Euro USD, and the dollar index. If you have any question, you can start dropping your questions right there on the chat box. And we're going to be taking commentaries afterwards. But before then, we'll go on a very short break, 40 seconds break. And when we return, we're going to be analyzing gold. I know many of you are already asking, what about gold? We're going to analyze gold immediately after the short break. And then we're going to analyze the yen basket and one or two other yen pairs before we start taking questions and commentaries. Okay. So thank you very much. Stay tuned. In the next 40 seconds, we're going to resume and our analysis of gold.
Good morning, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me loud and clear in the chat box so we can move. Good morning once again. Good morning. Welcome to the Market Color brought to you by the Value Flow Trading Team and powered by our preferred broker, Opta. All right, great. I believe you can see my screen too. So we are going first into the precious metal first this morning, the analysis of the precious metal. And if you look at the precious metal for this week, we can see clearly on the weekly time frame. If you look at the weekly time frame now, we can see clearly that the trend still remains very much bullish to the upside. And if you see again, like we always say that the lower time frame makes up the higher time frame. However, the higher time frame controls the lower time frame. If you look at the daily time frame for the precious metal last week, from our analysis last week, we marked out this particular shoulder, like you can see here, this shoulder that you can see here. That was what we marked out for the precious metal, saying that when price comes all the way and entered into this region, which is this particular shoulder here, we want to see price start selling from that level to the downside. And that is what we see happened on Friday on the daily time frame. If you look at it, for those who follow the analysis, price came all the way into the fair value gap and also the shoulder around this level and began to sell all the way to the downside. So this week, what are we expecting for the precious metal? All we are expecting this week for the precious metal is we want to see it rally all the way a little bit back into this. You can see that it's forming a new shoulder again on the daily time frame. As you can see, this is more of a shoulder. You can see here, this is a sweep to the upside that clears this high. And we can see the possible break, which is that Friday candle to the downside. So we are expecting a level of retracement a bit to this shoulder level, and which is also having a confluence of the other block there. So when price retraces back, then we can see it. We can see it all the way retrace back down again. All right, so that is the first thing we are looking at. Price should come all the way to this level, then begin to come all the way back down. Again, that is the first thing we are looking at for this week on the precious metal. Now let's go to the lower time frame to check on 4-hour time frame what is going on the precious metal for 4 hours. Now for the 4-hour time frame, you can see what is here. This is a clear, boss strategy, a clear boss pattern. This is the shoulder here, this is flip, and we've seen the possible break to the downside. So we expect price to retrace all the way to this level, and when it gets here right now, then we can easily follow it all the way to the downside. So that is another point we are looking out to see the precious metal to retrace into, and we continue to sell it to the downside. Like CJ analyzed on the DSY, our bias is now clear for DSY. We are expecting it to rally all the way to the upside before we see. And when that happens, we are expecting the precious metal to tank to the downside. Now let's look at it on the 1-hour time frame. Is there anywhere where we can see maybe price, retrace into and we can easily sell, or if there is room for any buy, right? Being a possible sell to the downside until we see the level of retracement back to the upside, then we can't, expect any level. So instead, we should look for opportunity to sell. And if you look at 1-hour time frame, the opportunity to sell is there at that top there. If price retrace all the way into that level, or probably into this flip zone we are looking at here, and you can see the fair value gap, a very huge one around that size too. So when price gets to that place, we can easily follow it all the way to the downside. All right. So let's quickly take a look at what is going on the yen basket too. What is going on the yen basket? If you look at the yen basket right on the daily time frame, we are going to see that our bias last week was to long the yen basket, and we see it played out all the way to this level. And since I guess Wednesday, it started ranging all the way here. Now, what we're expecting this week again is the continuation of that rally to the upside. And if that would happen, this is where we are expecting it to get to. That is this particular shoulder here. And you can see the sweep, then the possible break to the downside. So when we see that price gets to a particular region, then we may see some level of reaction at this region here. This is a clear boss strategy at this region, as we can all see. So we can easily follow it all the way to the downside, but it's still going to rally all the way to this level. And as we all know that if the Japanese yen is rallying to this particular level, then we want to see the correlated move on the other yen correlated pairs, which is pairs like GJ, EJ, CJ, and the likes like that. I mean, CHF JPY, Euro JPY, and GBP JPY. So when we begin to see all those kind of move on the yen basket, we can easily follow it. But we are expecting yen basket to still, buy all the way to this level, since we mark our POI from this level. Like few weeks ago, we've been talking about this particular point that we mark, which we drill out from the 15-minute time frame for this particular entry to the upside. So this is going to be the best one we are looking out for yen to perform this week. Yen performance to be a bullish move this week, and all things being equal, we are expecting that. Now let's quickly take a look at the Great British Pound versus the yen, GBP JPY. Now, for those who follow our analysis after the New York analysis on Friday, when we finished, we analyzed that move on Friday. If you look at it on the 4-hour time frame, you are going to see that we've seen a clear structure to the downside on GJ all the way to the downside. And even you can see how the boss strategy has been playing out all the way to the downside. Particularly from this level, you see this did its own and did a clear one to the downside again. Now, during the New York session on Friday, we took some level of buy ourselves rather at around this side. I think that's on 1-hour time frame. During the analysis, exactly this is it. Looking at this particular level, we said that we're expecting price to rally all the way to this zone, then begin to sell, and that did 1:3 for us on Friday. However, this week, what exactly are we looking out for on the GBP JPY for this week? Now, if we go back to the daily time frame, we are going to confirm that this pair, GBP JPY, is very much bullish all the way to the upside. However, because of what we are expecting to see on the yen basket, then we should see that when price begin to rally on the yen basket, then we want to see some level of sells on the GBP JPY. But there is something we see on the monthly time frame. If we look at the monthly time frame, like we've always said, if we look at the monthly time frame, we see that price actually, you see this particular gap here, and that is where price is still trying to see, maybe it's still going to target, like tap into. We can see the fair value gap there and also the order block there. So that is still a bit level of concern. But until we see a clear move on the daily time frame to the downside, then we are going to keep selling GBP JPY, which is giving us a pre-information about what the yen basket should be doing, which is for it to rally all the way to the upside. So we should look out for that particular one until we get the best of it. So this is the analysis for the yen basket and also the precious metal. So this week on the precious metal, in conclusion, to wrap up this week for the precious metal, we are expecting some level of pullback on the precious metal, some level of pullback to the shoulder level. That is what we are expecting on the precious metal, some level of pullback to somewhere around this level here, 2357 level. So when price gets to that zone, we want to start shorting it to the downside. And also for the yen basket, we are longing the yen basket for the week, this particular week. So we are longing it. So if there's any question, you can easily type in the chat box. And if there is anything you want to ask as regard the chat, kindly type so that we can quickly address it. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Okay, good morning, Lekon.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, CJ. Good morning, everyone. What about EJ? Typically, whatever I said about GJ, except there is sharp discrepancy, you can see the same thing on Euro JPY. So typically, whatever analysis you see going on CHF JPY, Euro JPY, it should be something similar on GBP JPY, except if the pound is giving you very serious price action. So yen basket, that's why it's a basket. So the yen basket, if it's very strong, if it's dominating, you will see that sentiment play out on all the yen pairs. I took a buy on GU because I saw a box pattern. There are some questions here. Have the questions been answered? Fumbi says, can we say there's a shoulder around 229 on XAU USD in 4 hours? Can we see that? Some other 15 minutes chat. Kelly. So, Lekon, can you address the questions? Address the questions. So you have this.
Thank you, sir. For the 1 hour, if you look at the 1 hour, 4 hours, let's start from the 4 hour. If you look at it for the precious metal, you are going to see that there is clearly a shoulder there, which is this particular level you are seeing well marked out here. That is around the 2369.7 level. You can see it. That's a clear shoulder there on the 4 hour time. So when price rallied, like we said, when it's rallied back to that level, we expect it to short at that particular point. And you can also see the fair order block there, which is also this shoulder and the fair value gap too. The confluence are there for it to short around that level. So that's the level we are looking at for the gold to short at that point. I believe I've answered your question. Can I buy gold to that new level? Until you see your trade pattern, your trade, the boss strategy. But right now, if you look at it, I don't see, let's check 15-minute time frame if we are going to see the boss strategy for a buy on the precious metal. Right now, there is no any boss pattern there for a buy. You see it now until we see it. So if it is not obvious, like we always say, it is dubious. So don't just assume you want to buy it. If it's going to rally back to that place, it definitely would give a clear mark up for us to follow it to that level back. All right. Isioma, I believe I've been able to answer your question. that you can easily, follow it back if you see the false pattern to the upside. But on the lower time frame, there is no any pattern there. And on the higher time frame, everything is still showing you a sell all the way to the downside. All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. So any other commentary? Any other question from anyone? Okay. All right. Okay. Today, again, I want to speak to us very briefly on something called emotional capital. Emotional capital. When you're trading, you're not just trading your trading capital. You're also trading what we call emotional capital. When you, okay, Ima says, where is the box pattern on GU? Ima, you are just coming. CJ flogged it, overflogged it on GU. You are just coming, Ima. Even the other people will know. They are even smiling. I'm seeing some faces here smiling because they know you are just coming. All right? You can't take us back, sir. Not taking us back. I mean, you get what I'm saying. Identify a box pattern on EU. That's fine. So the strategy is simple. Box pattern, preferably on a higher time frame. Identify the trend. Look at sentiment, and then frame your trade. All right. So I just want to talk about something very quickly. It's the start of the new week, right? And that's why I'm talking on emotional capital. Whatever trade position you have been on or in, you didn't trade, except you traded synthetics. You didn't trade Saturday, you didn't trade Sunday. So I know your emotional capital, your hormones, everything, your psychology and physiology has reset, it has relaxed, right? When you start trading, you're not just trading the capital in your account, you're also trading what we call emotional capital. Like it's a fresh day, it's a new day, right? When you start trading, please ensure that you don't blow your emotional capital. What does that mean? I can start today trading and over leveraging. Now, if I over leverage, if I don't follow risk management and I take some foolish trades, two things will happen. The trade will go in my favor. However, in the period that the trade is going in my favor, my emotions will be a mess. Either I'll be too excited if it's going in my favor, I'll be too sad and too scared and too anxious if it's going against me. What has happened is once your emotional capital is drained or depleted and you keep trading, you are going to end up with very rubbish trades. So your goal is not just to preserve your trading capital. Make sure you take high probability setups, so you preserve your emotional capital. For some of you, I don't know if you have ever traded without a stop loss and you have been wishing and hoping for the trade to reverse from a drawdown into your position. You will discover that a time will come when you just look at the whole trade and by yourself, you just hiss and leave the computer. Meaning, I beg, whatever wants to happen, let it happen. What happened to you at that exact point is you have exhausted your emotional capital. You have exhausted your psychological capital. And then there are some of you that you have taken a trade and it's time for you to close. And when you want to close, you're supposed to do analysis. But because you don't know how to manage your trade positions, you just close without doing analysis. That's because your emotional capital is gone. And once you close the trade, whether it's in a loss or in a profit, you feel this sense of relief. This kind, now I can get my life back. That's your emotional capital. So please, as you trade this week, pay attention to your emotional capital because that's what will keep you disciplined. That's what will keep your mindset healthy so you can take trades. Someone says, talk to me directly. This bullet is unfair. Well, after a while, when you trade, you start to know the issues that mess you up. And your job is to ensure that you trade them and trade to reduce those issues that mess you up. All right. So I just want to talk about that. It's the start of a new trading week. Conserve your emotional capital. Look at your trading levels. Take your analysis. Once your capital is getting low emotionally, it's time to walk away from that trade. For some of you, this is what resets your emotional capital. If you have taken a trade and you have made money, you may need to withdraw. When you withdraw and you see the money, you won't take a trade until you see that money in your account. Your emotional capital gets reset. All right? I hope this has been helpful for somebody. If you have any other question, please type, let me answer. Good to see some of the familiar faces. I want to say thank you to everyone that came. I'm seeing Sir Amos Omede. Thank you so much for coming for the event. I'm seeing those of you that traveled, Lecce. I'm seeing all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Uneku, so good to see you here again. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. All right. So over to you guys back at the floor. I don't see any question for me here. Oh, how many of you remember during the session, Abuja Bootcamp, Trader TBC Abuja, I said gold. Show me gold on the daily. How many of you remember, especially for those of you who did the VIP, that I said gold, we are going to see a sharp sell on gold. A sharp sell on gold. That we're going to see a sharp sell on gold. I don't know if anybody remembers. And that was because of the imbalance that comes from sentiment. The imbalance that comes from sentiment. Because that imbalance has to be corrected over time. So take our time to study sentiment. Take our time to study the indexes. Take our time to go through some of the videos from the TBC and listen again and again so you hear some nuggets that can help you in your trading. I wish you all the best. Trade safe, please. Slow and steady. Let's just say that sharp sell was something else. It didn't allow people get in. One thing you need to understand is, so let me say this about non-farm payroll. On Thursday, right, if you have a bias, on Thursday, the Thursday before NFP, when you have ADP, because there's a news that comes out before NFP on Thursday, it's called ADP. If you are sure of your direction, mark out your levels on that Thursday and place your pending orders there. Sometimes it is very hard to get liquidity just before the news comes out, except you are working with a very solid broker like an Octa. But even at that, once you are seeing time getting to 128, 129, you will not be able to get good entries. Truly, you will not. All right. Thank you very much. Over to you guys. CJ, good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, this NFP move started on Thursday. That's what I'm trying to say. It started on Thursday. All right. Cheers. God bless.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your wonderful analysis, as always. We hope that everyone who is live here on this market color for today will be able to take advantage of the setups, the nuggets, the advice, and every other thing that we've shared with you today. Until we meet again during the New York session, the New York session comes up by 3 p.m. GMT +1, so endeavor to join so that we can have a recap of the London session, and we'll look out for the things we're expecting on the remaining part of the New York session. Thank you very much, everyone, once again for joining today's market color. Wish you good luck and good trading until we see you again. Cheers and God bless, guys.